I'm not going to gamble that you actually make it to November and actually have the midterms. One of the issues for electorates all around the world is that whichever party you vote for, you get one in charge that believes in neoliberal economics. So both the Democrats and the Republicans in America end up supporting neoclassical ideas of how the economy should be run, which is what we call neoliberalism. The same thing applies in England. There's really no choice for most people. It comes down to the electoral systems themselves. Will they make it possible for political parties that completely break with neoliberalism to become dominant? England looks like it's done that because England's first passed the post voting system, and the fact that anybody can stand as a candidate in the UK system. The major political parties in the UK, the Tories and Labour, are both going to lose dramatically at the next election. And given the first past the post system they've got, I've seen estimates that say that the Labour Party is going to hold to 3 seats and the Conservatives virtually none. And you're going to have the whole 600 roughly seats in the UK economy flip to alternative parties, whether that's Reform on the right wing or Greens on the left wing. So that's an incredible political inversion. It will happen almost without doubt in the UK. But in the American system, again, you only have 2 parties can get registered in most electorates, Republicans or Democrats. It's incredibly hard to get onto the ballot if you're not one of those parties. And if you do vote for them, then you take away votes that would otherwise go to the Democrats. You take them out, the Republicans are more likely to win. America, I think, is stuck in a political quagmire of its own making. And the irony is that America has talked about promoting democracy around the world, believe they're defending democracies when they invade other countries. That's the argument they even use for Iran. You've got the craziest political system on the planet. No other country has this idea of primaries. When you vote for a candidate, you don't actually vote for that candidate. You vote for somebody else who will go to an assembly where they may or may not vote for that candidate. And this was all set up back in the original formation of the American Constitution because there was a skepticism about the popular vote at the time it was built. So you have a system which prevents that popular vote coming through. And in that sense, it's anti-democratic. And this is something which applies to many, many countries. The voting system makes it extremely hard for the demos, the people, to actually have a role in how democracy functions. And this shows us that there's something wrong in how we've defined democracy. Now, what we've done really is take the post-French Revolution, when you had the left and the right sides of the French Assembly. That's where we get the terms left and right from it. The Rive for the right, the gauche for the left in France. And we've replicated a personal popularity contest elections all around the world. So you vote for an individual and they try to say, I'm going to solve all your problems for you. Now, this almost is like it's a clarion call to narcissists in the first place. The people who are going to respond to that are people who believe they are the chosen person. So you get the wrong type of person being selected for this in the first case, and you've got the wrongest of the wrong people right now with Trump being president. So is there an alternative way to select people from the demos to give you actual democracy? And if you take a look at what the Athenians actually had, that's where the idea of demos and democracy came from. Of course, democracy in Athens didn't apply to the slaves and it didn't apply to the women. Anybody who was a freeman in Athens could take part in the assemblies that they ran. But the interesting thing is how they selected the officials to carry out the functions inside the Athenian political system. And they did not have votes. They had a system which was called sortition. And the idea of a sortition was you would ask the leading families in Athens, who would you nominate? Now, rather than getting those people, if you actually had the leading families nominating who they wanted in major positions, then of course they'd nominate somebody that benefits them. But the Athenian system said, you nominate who you want. So that's the first round. And then the second round, the people you've nominated, we ask them to nominate somebody. And then a fourth round, then a fifth round. If the person they selected was not going to be the person who had that position, then it biased them in favour of saying, who do I think would be a good person to fulfill this role? Who is likely to make a good decision to choose the next person? And that worked all the way through. So you ultimately had, in effect, it was a random number system in many ways, a bit like the jury system is now. But its result was to choose somebody that everybody on this whole chain of selection thought would be a good person to be making these decisions. Rather than getting people who were in it for themselves, they had a sense of empathy. So the decisions that made in the Athenian system were for the interest of the freemen of Athens. It was in their interests overall. They did have a way that their demos ran the society. So that's the sort of system we should have. We should never have gone into elections and votes and all the narcissistic type of personality that attracts. We should have developed something which is a bit like what the jury system is, a random choice of people who then get to make the decisions, but you do it in such a way that you get people who are not just randomly selected, intelligent, empathic people to make the decisions for you. We have to get some sort of system like the Athenians used to have to choose people who do not make irresponsible decisions. There's a wonderful expression from the English politician George Galloway. Whatever you might think about George Galloway, you can't deny he's got a wonderful gift of the gab. And in describing the Tories versus Labour in the UK, he said, they are two cheeks with the same boom. You get one arse or another arse, you get an arse. You don't get somebody that you actually want to make those decisions for you. So we need a system that means you don't end up with the arse of the system. You want people with brains and heart. And at the moment, we don't have a political system anywhere in the world that selects our leaders that way. It doesn't help to get the economics right if you give advice to politicians who will use that for their own advantage or what they think is their own advantage rather than doing what the sensible economics would tell them to do.